So to help somebody to become a non-smoker, it's really helpful to understand that they have to go through a particular journey. It's kind of like a story arc that they'll go through. And the story arc is something like this. Things happened in their life. Smoking came into their life. It's been there through their life as a kind of coping mechanism and as a reliable friend. And for those people who've successfully changed, there's a certain point where they look at their current life and they look at what smoking's doing in their current life in terms of their relationships, their health, their wealth, all these kind of things. And they start to question whether it has a place. And as they start to question whether it still has a valid place, whether it's still fulfilling the original aims and needs that it did all those years ago, there's a certain level of dissatisfaction and frustration with it. As that dissatisfaction and frustration goes, there's this key first point, which is enough is enough. I'm going to change. Enough is enough. And at that point, that's the ideal time to go and arrange a call with a stop smoking expert who can help them get to the second point, which is, oh my God, I know I've made a change. Literally, I don't feel any cravings at all inside my body. I'm free. Now, let me let you in a little secret. This second stage, which we do in the session, can happen in, maybe 20 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour. That happens very, very quickly for most people. Why? Because they've already got to the point of enough is enough. And in fact, we can get to that point of enough is enough during the strategy call, during the free consultation call that we do with clients. But the question is, what's going to get somebody to the point where they start feeling that motivation and they're heading in that direction of enough is enough? Remember, nobody really quit unless nobody made any really significant changes in their life unless they said enough is enough. This is too important. I've got to get this handled. I've got to get a new job. I've got to step up here. I've simply got to find, I've simply got to either walk away from this relationship, or I've got to find this relationship, or I've got to make this change. Enough is enough. All right. And there's a second stage, which is where they literally go inside, and the second moment of change, where they look inside and go, I just feel totally different. I know it. All right. And this deep knowing that you've changed is really what a stop smoking expert can do. And yes, I can help a person get to the point of enough is enough, as long as they're headed in that trajectory anyway. All right. And what you can do is you can start orienting them in that trajectory. All right. It's a bit like a snowball at the top of a mountain. Okay. So if you approach this in the way that I'm going to be teaching you, what will happen is the energy and impulse and motivation to quit smoking is going to start to grow and grow and grow. This is beautiful. It's such an easy thing to do. All right. So there are these two moments of change, and your role really is to leverage and understand the deeper aspects of being there for a person and being able to ask them questions that don't antagonize them, whilst not trying to change them, but just modeling a sense of curiosity and compassion so that they can become more reflective about their situation. And as we start diving in deeper to the types of questions that you can ask, the way that you can ask those questions, then you'll realize that the two moments of change, well, these can be huge for a person, all right? But they need to go through that in their own particular way, all right? And remember, they're starting off from a position where on their journey through life, smoking is like a key point, right? It's like, it's become, it was an ally in their times of darkness, all right? But it's become a friend, really, an ally that they have, a mentor who they have outgrown, all right? And they have to see that for themselves. And so when you understand that the way that you ask questions can help them to reflect, without trying to change them, then paradoxically they're more likely to change. All right, and we'll be diving in deeper to this. It may seem like a paradox now, but really it's as simple as understanding this. If I say, oh, you really should stop smoking, it's really bad for you, you should really give it up now. All right, that's you're all the person's left with is a feeling of feeling bad. Even if they do manage to do it, they've got just this nagging sense that the person's going to say, well, you should have done that ages ago. There's just no motivation there. They're just basically left feeling bad, feeling being told what to do, and they have compounded bad feelings upon the original bad feelings. However, if you are to ask, do you mind if I ask how you got started smoking? Can you hear the difference there? Like someone who's just interested in what you're doing. And if you ever had somebody who's like, oh, that's really interesting. Oh, how did you get into that? Or where did you two meet? Oh, really? You work in this area? Oh, how do you get into that? And and you have somebody who's there genuinely interested. Now, the key thing here is that you're not going to need to say very little. Have you ever met somebody who says, oh, that must be really good. Oh, you must really love that. Oh, you must really have enjoyed that holiday. And they're just full of, they're trying to agree with you. They're trying to help. But what they're doing is they're just living constantly, they're enjoying the sound of their own voice whilst giving judgments about you. Oh, you must be so happy that you're healthy now. Oh, it must be so good that you feel this way. Oh, it must be so good. And all you want them to do is shut up and listen. And you can shut up and listen by going, oh, interesting. All right, so we're going to look at how you can keep conversations going as well. And if you understand that people have gone through this life, of this complex relationship with smoking, okay, and they have to understand and be able to look at it and really have a deeper understanding of its role in their life, what it's given them, but also what it's taking away now. And they need to reflect on that in their own time. They might be able to do that in one conversation, they might be able to do that in multiple conversations over a period of time. That's not really important. What's important is that they start to become curious and interested and fascinated in it, because fascination will keep a person engaged in their thinking to the point where they have different insights and they start to look at it differently. And let's face it, if a smoker starts to look differently about what's going on, well, then change does become possible. Okay, so this kind of golden rule again of we don't want to antagonize or cause defenses to come up. We don't want people to feel bad. We don't want anyone to feel bad. They already feel bad that this is the only way they've got to cope and that people are telling them to quit, and they have a sense of, maybe it's not that great for my health. We don't want to we don't want them to do it. We want them to shift gears to the state of fascination and curiosity. And we do that by modeling it through our own attitude. Why? Because we know that fundamentally they're going to have to get on this trajectory towards enough is enough. I want to change this. But it's going to need a bit of psychological and mental and physical almost energy to get in that direction. And the shift towards doing that is going to begin by the way that they're thinking. All right, but that way of thinking needs to be laden with fascination and compassion, not judgment and self-reproach and guilt and all these things. All right, and that's the foundational role that you can play in these conversations, because you understand the two moments of change. You understand they've got to get up to this, enough is enough, and then only after that the sort of, should we say, the last hurdle of, oh yeah, oh, I can breathe now. I just don't feel that anxiety. I don't feel those cravings. All right, and remember there's support available for that, but they're not going to be able to be willing to look and get to that point unless they're able to reflect inside their own minds on that. And you're the person who can do that, because you're modeling for them how to have compassion, how to be self-reflective, how to become more fascinated in their thinking about this whole thing. And let me tell you, it is deeply, deeply fascinating for smokers. Why? Because they've been doing it all their lives. They know they're in the smokers club. They know they're in this sort of special category that, quite frankly, used to be advertised as cool. It was even recommended in the 50s by the Surgeon General, wasn't it, in the United States, rather surprisingly. But that's marketing for you. The marketing tide has turned a little bit. But they have, there are associations to it being cool. There used to be associations on films to, smoking being cool. So they've grown up with all these kind of reference points. And you're the person who's helping them to become reflective and fascinated about this. And eventually they will start to have new insights and new ways of looking at it. That will snowball into this trajectory of enough is enough, which is the first moment of change, which obviously will then very, very naturally leads to the, what am I going to do now? Okay, let's get some help. Let's knock this on the head. Let's strike while the iron's hot. It's that second point of, okay, I just know it's changed. I know that I've transformed. And you know what? When you do things and you understand that and you play this foundational role, they will feel, quite rightly, that they've done it themselves. And you can just feel a warm glow of having been a Merlin-like character with kindness and gentleness and compassion, helping people to live longer, happier and healthier lives. But how cool does that sound?